Hello again, all you lovely people. Well, I assume you're lovely. I can't actually see you. So today I'm going to read to you another of the essays that I got back when I ordered my free response booklets from the AP tests, except today it will not be for AP English Language, it will be for AP US History. The prompt was something about the 19th Amendment. We were supposed to analyze the extent to which it marked a turning point in women's history in America. Alright, here we go. Let me know what you think in comments, and if you like it with the like button. Though the 19th Amendment was a long sought-after goal and considered a great triumph for women, in reality it did not mark a considerable turning point in U.S. women's history. While the amendment did allow women to vote and run for office, it mostly didn't change how women were viewed in society, their levels of activism, and their employment disadvantages. The 19th Amendment granted voting equality, but it did not grant women full legal, economic, or social equality. The 19th Amendment did grant women new political rights, and at the time was seen as a great triumph. Women had been organizing for suffrage since the early 1800s at the Seneca Falls Conference, when they wrote the Declaration of Sentiments. However, this goal had seemed an unlikely ideal, so many at the time had focused on more easily attainable goals, like marriage and property rights. In the late 1800s, women focused more on progressive reforms and aiding the plight of blacks. However, World War I provided women with a unique opportunity to finally attain the goal of voting rights. Pressure from radical women's groups, such as NOW, and the high level of support from women in the war on the home front, led Wilson to propose suffrage as a war measure. By 1920, the amendment was passed, and women nationwide celebrated and quickly registered to vote. Nearly as many women as men were voting within a decade. However, this change would not nearly have as much of a societal impact as women had hoped. Giving women voting rights would not ultimately change their political role, nor would it change how they were viewed or treated in the long term. Both before and after the 19th Amendment, women's primary political roles were as activists and reformers. Prior to suffrage, women from 1865 to 1920 had participated vigorously in a number of progressive reforms. For instance, Jane Addams founded Hull House, and the Women Christians Temperance Union gained strength under the leadership of Frances Perkins, aiding the chain of events which would result in prohibition. When women were given the right to vote, many anticipated that they would see a dramatic change in their political role, as they represented a new demographic of voters and candidates. However, in the period immediately following the amendment, women politicians achieved very limited success, a trend which continued into the coming decades at the federal level. There wasn't a woman on the Supreme Court until the 1980s with Sandra Day O'Connor, and 2016 saw the first female major party candidate, Hillary Clinton, lose to a white male misogynist. As for voting, women briefly were a key demographic, but they quickly established firm partisan allegiances for the most part evenly split between the parties, diminishing their political influence. After the amendment, women continued to be activists and reformers, some advocating isolationism in the late 1930s as World War II approached, but their political importance had changed very little. Their role societally remained much the same as well. There was still a major wage gap, and mass culture reinforced past stereotypes for women as a domestic force, not a political one or an economic one. Both before and after the amendment, society saw a woman's role as in the home. Only in the 1960s and 70s would this begin to change, as many women took jobs and the feminist movement reached its height. Even then, however, women were unable to attain an equal rights amendment to give them the same socioeconomic opportunities as everyone else, and even then, shows and media like Leave It to Beaver promoted domestic female stereotypes. Thus, the 19th Amendment, though initially promising and exciting, marked a turning point in women's history to an extremely limited extent overall. This is similar to the passage of the 14th and 15th Amendments after the Civil War. Passed as a result of a war, these laws seemed momentous, but, at least at the time, had very little impact on blacks' roles in society and the economy and politics. Poll taxes and literary taxes limited black votes, they remained economically limited, and they continued to be viewed as inferior to whites, just as women continued to be regarded by many as inferior to males. Even after the civil rights and feminist movements, these perceptions still taint our society today. Racial and gender imbalances abound, and though fewer will admit it, many still remain as racist or chauvinist in thinking in 2017 as 1917 or 1927. Now, that's the end of my essay. Being that I am neither a woman nor an African American, my perspectives on this may be radically different than those who have had firsthand experience. So if you'd like to share that experience with me or just share your thoughts in general, again, please drop a comment. Thank you for your time.